Hi, Kevin here. Today we're fixing molasses whole wheat bread. Now, I made the same bread yesterday. This is all that remains of it. And I can tell you it is absolutely delicious. So here's the recipe. In a large mixing bowl, add 1 cup of warm water. That's around 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Then add 2 teaspoons of either active dry or instant yeast. I'm using instant yeast today. In you go. I'm going to give this a quick whisk. Okay. Then add a 1/4 cup of either melted butter or shortening or vegetable oil. And I'm using oil. This is a neutral tasting oil. I think it's canola. Yes, it is canola. Then add a 1/4 cup of molasses. Yum. Now, if you don't like molasses, you could substitute honey, but then, of course, you wouldn't call this molasses whole wheat bread. You'd call it honey whole wheat bread. And if you don't like honey, you could use maple syrup. Let's see, I'm going to use a spoon now, or rather a spatula. Blend that in. And then I'm going to add 3½ cups of white whole wheat flour. And let me show you the bag it came in. So this is white whole wheat flour. It is not a combination of whole wheat and all-purpose flour. White whole wheat is actually a strain of wheat. And if you don't have white whole wheat flour, you can always use regular old whole wheat flour. And that's 3½ cups, which I did measure by spooning the flour into a measuring cup. There you go, just pour it all in. I'm going to stir this just briefly. Okay, and I'm also going to add a 1/4 cup of instant non-fat dry milk. Now, the reason you add this is the non-fat dry milk adds milk solids without adding any extra liquid. It's a great thing to have on hand. And finally, going to add 1¼ teaspoons of salt, because bread without salt can be very bland. Okay, and then just give this a stir. And then, when it clears the side of the bowl, then you cover it. Let's see, where's my knife? I'm going to scrape off this dough. Going to cover this and let it sit for 30 minutes. This way the flour will become fully hydrated and the dough will be much easier to knead, and we will be kneading this by hand. Okay? I don't know why you have to see me for that little statement, but cover the bowl with plastic wrap, and again, let it rest for 30 minutes, and we'll be back. Okay, while we're letting the dough rest, I wanted to explain a little more about why it's so convenient to have instant non-fat dry milk on hand. I actually bought this when I was making Japanese, what were they? Japanese milk bread rolls. And the instant milk contributes to the softness of the rolls. And it does that, as I said earlier, by contributing milk solids without any added liquid. So Anyway, boy, I was really grateful to have this on hand, because when the pandemic hit and before we knew to wear masks in public, I didn't want to go to the grocery store. I didn't want to be anywhere in public. I didn't want to be around any people. And I needed milk for cereal, milk for coffee, and I had this stuff. So it really was I don't know if it was a lifesaver, but it was just really convenient to have. So good idea, always keep instant non-fat milk on hand, okay? I'll come back when the dough has finished resting. All right, the dough has rested for 30 minutes, so the flour should be fully hydrated. And we are going to knead this by hand, but we are not going to be adding any flour at all as we knead. And the dough is going to be rather sticky, so instead of adding flour, I'm going to spray my marble board here with canola spray. And I'm also going to spray my hands. And you could use olive oil or canola oil or coconut oil, whatever you like, to grease your own work surface and your hands. Okay. Now, when you knead, let's see, can you see all right? I think so. So when you knead the dough, you want to turn it over on itself and then push it out with the heel of your hand. So fold, push, fold, push, fold, push. Yeah, this is pretty nice dough. I'm not sure if I should show you the whole kneading process. Probably not. It's actually the same kneading technique I used when I made the basic white bread recipe for you. And by the way, that recipe has a lot of views. I'm very surprised. It has like 20,000 views, something like that. Okay. I'm going to knead this just until the dough becomes smooth. And then I'm going to show you what to do if the dough becomes sticky at any point during the kneading process. However, mine is not sticky at all just yet. Grabbing little bits of stray dough over there. Yeah, just fold, push, fold, push. Remember that kneading bread, or rather kneading dough, is great physical exercise. It's also meditational. It's good for the body, it's good for the mind, it's good for the soul. And you could absolutely use your stand mixer to knead the dough. And again, you would just knead it until the dough becomes smooth. Well, I want to just show you what to do if the dough becomes sticky, but mine is not becoming sticky. Well, I'll show you anyway. Let's pretend that this dough is sticking to my hands and this is becoming a real mess. You just pick it up and slam it down about 20 times. There, I did it 10 times. That's an old French technique for kneading dough. And I should tell you, the molasses not only smells terrific, I mean this dough, just unbaked, has a wonderful aroma. The molasses also gives the bread a nice deep color. And I'm using just regular old, it's called Grandma's unsulfured molasses that you can buy in any American supermarket. Last night when I made the bread, I ate many slices of it, some of which I toasted and buttered, and then I spooned molasses directly onto the toast. And boy, was that good. Let me know if you've ever spooned molasses onto your bread or your toast. I don't think too many people do such a thing. They go for honey or jam. Yeah, oh man, this dough is coming along really, really well. And I think it's actually very smooth. So I think we've kneaded this enough. So then I'm going to grab a clean bowl, and you want to oil it, grease it. And again, you could use olive oil or shortening or coconut oil, whatever you prefer. And then drop the dough smooth side down and flip to grease the other side. And then cover it with plastic wrap. And by the way, I buy my plastic wrap in this commercial sized box. This is 18 inches wide by 2,000 feet long. I bought it at a restaurant supply store and it cost me only $13. And I've had it for several years. So very good investment and much cheaper to buy than, say saran wrap. All right, so I'm going to put this in a warm spot until the dough doubles in volume. And that will take about an hour and a half. So we'll be back. All right, the dough has definitely doubled in volume. So now it's time to shape the loaf. And what you will need is an 8 by 4 inch loaf pan. Don't use a 9 by 5 inch loaf pan because the bread, you'll end up with a too short loaf of bread. 8 by 4 inches is what you want. We're going to deflate the dough, drop it onto the work surface, and then roll up your sleeves and pat this baby out into an oval that is wider at the bottom than the top. Let's see. And you want the bottom of the oval to be the same length as your loaf pan, so that's 8 inches. And this is exactly what we did when we made the basic white bread. And then Mickey Mouse ears, you want to fold over the top half of the dough, or the top third of the dough, and then roll it up. And for each roll, you want to push with your thumbs to seal the seam. Let me move you in a little bit closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So roll, push, roll, push. And when you get to the end, you can karate chop the seam. There you go. And now, for some reason, I have this little split right here. So, you know what? I'm going to redo this. This is real live baking. Now, when I made this bread last night, of course, everything went swimmingly well. It's only because I'm filming that I'm having trouble. Okay, let's see how this looks. I want to go a little farther up here. Okay, and then let's see if we have 8 inches here. Yep, we're looking good. Mickey Mouse ears once again. Roll, push, roll, push. There, much better surface tension this time around. And what you want is this smooth top. And then I'm going to karate chop that last seam. Here's my bread pan. And in it goes. And cover this with cling film loosely. Actually, what I'm going to do, since the dough as it rises can stick to the cling film, so if you give it a little spritz of vegetable spray, and you can flip the plastic over, and you don't want to seal the plastic against the pan, just let it sit on top. This way the dough can rise unencumbered. And I'm going to put this in a warm location until the top of the dough extends about 1 inch above the rim of the pan. And that's going to take, 30 to 45 minutes. And meanwhile, move you away, preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, we'll be back. All right, the bread has risen enough, and I'm really glad that I sprayed the cling film because no sticking. And this is what you want. The bread should rise, especially at the center, 1 inch above the rim of the pan. And that actually took less than 30 minutes. So now I'm going to pop this into the oven. Move you out. Which again is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to bake this for 35 to 40 minutes, and then I'm going to test it with a digital thermometer because the internal temperature should reach at least 190 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll be back. Oh, I forgot to mention, if the bread looks like it's turning too dark, cover it with a sheet of aluminum foil during, the last 10 minutes of baking. All right, see you in a bit. All right, here's the bread, and I did cover it with a sheet of aluminum foil during the last 10 minutes of baking. And now I want to test this with a digital thermometer. So let's see. Have you ever seen such a ratty hot pad or oven mitt? Avery actually got a hold of that mitt when she was a puppy and chewed it. Avery is my dog, by the way. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, it looks gorgeous. But we only know that it's done if the internal temperature is at least 190 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to plunge this thermometer right into the middle. And let's see, we are at 180, 181. Come on, keep going. 3. Okay, so it's not quite there. I had it in the oven for 40 minutes. I'm going to put it back in the oven directly on a rack for about, 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll test it again. Okay, I gave it 5 minutes in the oven. Let's do another test. Yeah, 190, 192. Yeah, 193. Okay, we are good. Again, you want a minimum of 190 degrees Fahrenheit. All right. By the way, these digital thermometers are really convenient. And now I have my emotional support butter over here, but we cannot cut into this bread until it has achieved room temperature. Well, let's say you can't cut into the bread until it's achieved room temperature. I'm actually hungry, and I want to try this. So I'm going to let it cool down for maybe 20 minutes, and then we'll slice into it, have a look, and have a taste. And here's a close-up of the bread. It's got a really nice shape, and again, it smells really good because it smells of molasses. So if you like molasses, you will love the scent of this molasses whole wheat bread. All right, gonna let it cool down for a bit and then we'll have a taste. All right, it's the moment of reckoning. We're going to tuck into some of this bread, which again has not achieved room temperature yet. And you really do want it to cool to room temperature because it will slice more easily that way. So here goes nothing. Well, I can already tell this loaf has really beautiful body. Hang on, I'm going to put this on a wooden board. Put this out of the way. There, much better. Crust, my favorite part. Look at this. It's got a beautiful crumb. This is actually a perfect crumb. No big air bubbles in it. So now, again, my emotional support butter. And then, you know what, just for fun, I'm going to put some Grandma's good old-fashioned molasses on this. I'm also going to put this bread on a purple plate. Just drizzle that on. Here we go. Oh my God. This is fabulous. Hang on. Okay. I don't want to admit this, but first bite, my eyes rolled to the back of my head. It's that good. Just incredible. Are you a carb freak like me? Well, I hope you will give this magnificent molasses whole wheat bread a try. And again, I will list the ingredients in the description box below. And the ingredients did come from King Arthur flour, but the technique was basically mine. And again, I baked this loaf not for 35 or 40 minutes, but for 45 minutes. And I did cover it with a tent of aluminum foil during the last 10 minutes of baking. So again, I hope you'll give the loaf a try. Please subscribe. Please tap the little bell icon to receive notifications, and please post a comment below. I do read all of your comments, and I love hearing from you. Okay, thanks for spending time with me today. I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.